Hello, everyone. My name is TJ Meyer, and today I'm going to talk about freedom of hate speech. When it comes to many people I've seen recently, whether it's on my college campus or even people online, I've seen a huge outpour of support for getting a specific type of speech banned. That speech is hate speech. Now, before I begin to talk about this, I want to clarify what these people believe that hate speech is. They describe hate speech as a type of speech that is looked at as attacking a certain person or a group on the account of their gender, race, class, religion, etc. Some people even consider hand gestures to be able to contribute to this term called hate speech. I completely understand why banning hate speech sounds really nice because most people don't want to be considered hateful people and usually don't want to hurt others. And I understand that people say terrible things to others, whether to an individual or a group, and I think that is completely awful and disgusting for people to say these things. But I do not think it should be made illegal. It is either everything is legal or nothing is legal. Otherwise, we are not going to know where to draw the line. One thing I want to talk about when it comes to speech in America is what it actually is. I've heard many people talk about the actual freedom of speech we have and how many times I've heard things that are untrue. So I'm going to clarify exactly what rights we have and do not have according to the U.S. government. The United States courts says that freedom of speech includes the right to not say anything at all, specifically the right to not salute the flag, allows for the right to not say anything at all, allows for students to wear black armbands to protest war. They specifically state that constitutional rights are not stripped from people at the school entrance, to use certain offensive words and phrases to convey political messages, to contribute money under certain circumstances to political campaigns, to advertise commercial products and professional services with some restrictions, and to engage in symbolic speech, for example, burning the American flag for protest. Now, when it comes to the First Amendment, the freedom of speech does not give people the right to incite actions that would harm others, like shouting fire in a crowded theater, to make or distribute obscene materials, to burn draft cards as an anti-war protest, to permit students to print articles in a school newspaper over the objection of the school administration, for students to make an obscene speech at a school-sponsored event, and for students to advocate illegal drug use at a school-sponsored event. But out of all these rights and rights we do not have, one right that is written in the Constitution that I believe is the most important is that, in quote, Congress shall make no law abridging freedom of speech. To me, that alone is the umbrella that covers all the speech rights we have, and without that, many things probably would have been changed already that shouldn't have been changed. Now, if we were to accept the idea of hate speech and buy into wanting to ban it, you're going to have to think of a couple things that could be problematic. The first one, and the biggest one for me, is the question of who gets to decide what is and what isn't hate speech, if it were written into law. This question to me is scary because if we were to write hate speech into law and make people abide by it, then we are allowing the government to legally censor us. When it comes to who in the government gets to decide what words or phrases or hand gestures are going to be illegal, another question comes to mind, and that is how do we know where to draw the line? If somebody in the government said the N-word and the F-word are now illegal and cannot be used because they're offensive, who are they to tell anybody else who goes to them with words that they believe offends them that those words aren't actually hate speech? If I truly believe that the phrase, for example, Wonder Bread was offensive, why should I not be allowed to make that word illegal since we are just making things illegal based on emotion? And Wonder Bread to me could be completely offensive. Obviously, that phrase is not offensive to me personally, but that's my point. Who are we to draw the line on someone else's word they find offensive and say that their word is not as important? That's why I say we need to have an all or nothing system, because if we make two words illegal based on emotion, that would be unfair for other people who find other words offensive. If we were to put this hate speech idea into politics as well, we can use this video as a reference to how the right feels about speech. Now, we are living in a time where there is currently so much censorship happening, not from the government, but from websites like Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, etc., and even just as much on many college campuses. Now, when it comes to my political views, I'm pretty much in the center when it comes to my thoughts, but I do tend to lean more to the left when it comes to voting on issues. But when it comes to the left and free speech, to me, it is like a parent being mad at their child. Like I said, I am on the left, but to me the left is the worst at censoring people, and mostly censoring people on the right from what I see. And not just because they truly believe they're being offensive, but they more so try to censor the people on the right because the right is presenting ideas the left just doesn't agree with. For example, Milo Yiannopoulos, he's a very controversial figure to people because he does joke a lot and troll many people. He is the type to not filter himself and not be scared to say what's on his mind. He has said many things that are funny but could be offensive if taken the wrong way. Now, he has been called so many things from racist to sexist and even homophobic, even though he is gay himself, because he because of some trolling that he has done. People even call him racist, even though he is actually married to a full black man. And Twitter has also banned him for life, and many college campuses, including UC Berkeley, have canceled his events and asked him not to come back because of riots that people on the left start when he was going to have a talk there. I completely understand if someone doesn't agree with him and does not want to hear him speak because they aren't fans of what he says. That's completely fine. But that doesn't mean it needs to be ruined for everybody else who actually wants to see him. And that is what I think a lot of the left does when it comes to speech. If they do not agree with you, they don't want it said at all, and I can't agree with something like that. If we look at another example that led to even more consequences than just a Twitter ban and a ban from college campuses, we can look at the UK. In the UK, along with every single country besides the US, they don't have any freedom of speech laws. So you can actually be fined or even jailed for saying something that the court deems offensive. For example, a young man by the name of Mark Meacham made a video for YouTube that was actually a video that was posted 2 years before he was posted 2 years before he ended up going to court for it. In the video, he is with his girlfriend's dog and talks about how his girlfriend always talks about how cute their dog is. So to annoy her, he said in his words, in quote, I thought I would turn him into the least cute thing I could think of, which is a Nazi. Now the video shows his dog staring at a speech from Adolf Hitler and shows Mark Meacham, the owner, saying commands like Sieg Heil, which then the dog would put his right paw in the air signifying a Nazi salute. Like I said earlier, that video was out for 2 years before any attention got brought to it and Mark got prosecuted and had to go to court for it. Mark Meacham was found guilty of a hate crime under the Communications Act and was ordered to pay a fine. If he did not pay the fine, then he would end up getting jail time. This is crazy because yes, what he did could be seen as offensive to people, but what is even more important than the actions he did is the intent behind it. If you watch the video, the intent is clearly a joking one, and you can completely tell when he is joking and laughing during the video. He even says in the beginning of the video, again in quote, I thought I would turn him into the least cute thing I could think of, a Nazi. So clearly he thinks Nazis are not good things, and with him laughing and having a fun time in the video, it is clear that he had no hate behind what he did, but he got convicted of a hate crime anyway. This is not something I want to see America turn into. I don't want people to have to worry about getting in trouble with the law for fun videos they put online that some people find funny and others don't. I don't want people to dictate the humor of others based on their own humor. I don't want people to have to watch what they need to say, especially if they feel a certain way, just because I don't agree with them. If people want to have hateful thoughts and believe hateful things, then even though I completely disagree with them, they should be allowed to have those views as long as nobody is getting physically harmed. If you want to progress in society and try to make things better than they are, you need to be able to have an open dialogue and discuss things with people openly while allowing an open exchange for ideas that anybody can participate in. So no, hate speech is not real. It is not different than regular speech that we get covered in the First Amendment, and nobody should be able to change our rights as a people, what we can and cannot say in our own country.